Right, I'm going to start the meeting. Welcome to your select group. So thank you for turning up this evening. And we have online Carl Nicholson and Jackie Lower, both from North Somerset Council, both involved in transport and highways. And Jackie is specifically on the BSIP bus hub, which I'll bring to the beginning of the agenda, actually. And sitting next to me, we've got Joe Beckley from the operations manager from Weston-super-Mare First Bus. Nikki and Amy are the officers from upstairs, keeping me in order. Right. So, and we have one apology, which is Jason from Big Lemon, who sent his apologies earlier today. He's engaged in another operations issue. Okay, so I'm going to go straight on to the bus hubs and get Jackie to just describe and walk us through the current state of affairs for the works which are due to kick off, I think, quite soon. Is that correct, Jackie? Can you hear us?
Sorry, I'm just unmuting. I'm just having a few problems setting up at the minute.
Oh, and Stanley's here as
Yeah, I
well.
was going to say
Stanley.
Stan is supposed to be. It was going to talk us through a few of the
Okay,
slides,
right.
etc. So
Yep.
I'll leave Stan in. If there's any questions that I need to pick up, then I'll do that as well. So
Okay, well, welcome, Stanley. Can you hear us?
The classic unmute. I am here. Apologies.
Stanley is the program manager, a management officer for the BSIP bus hub situation at the moment. So Stanley, would you like to just talk us through the current situation regarding the bus hubs for
Of
the high street?
course. I've got a few slides. If I share those, with those come
Sure.
through?
Yeah, should do.
It says I need to send a request. Not sure if that's come through.
And once we've dealt with the bus hubs, then do feel free to leave us as we discuss general bus operations in the area.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so apologies, the screens always go a little bit peculiar. So yeah, this is the information pack we've got currently for the Portishead hub. And just going through the changes. So I believe an update came to this group about a year ago. We've had some minor changes on the design, but hopefully the overall design should be familiar to people in the room. So what's overall going to change at the moment? The bus stop situation in Portishead is a little bit confusing. There's lots of stops going on that don't exactly fit the current layout and the routing of bus services. So we're planning to consolidate those stops around the Coombe Road High Street location, making 3 super modern, super smart bus stops that I'm sure people in Portishead are used to seeing, the ones that we've upgraded as part of the bus stop program. So those will come together, and there'll be general kind of public realm improvement and upgrade to the area to make it look much nicer. And we're also changing or doing some amendments to the Wyndham Way High Street location, building out the footway a little bit, as at the moment the footway is quite poor. It's quite hard if you're in a wheelchair, for example, to get through. So part of this will be picking up the widening of that footway, and also just a general resurfacing of the area, picking up some maintenance aspects. And also a kind of a gateway feature into Portishead, with a change of surfacing to kind of show that you're entering that high street location. And then moving on through the high street, we'll be changing some of the crossings, zebra crossings along the high street, bringing one more further up north. We can show the designs in a second, but show it in a much better way. But also just a general movement of certain aspects of the crossings and parking throughout the high street, and also bringing in certain hub elements like cycle stands, secure cycle parking, parcel lockers, to kind of make that hub feel. So why are we doing this? So as I'm sure everyone's aware, the main stops in Portishead are obviously one of the most busiest ones we've got in North Somerset, and they're in need of improvement. So there's just the stop on the left at the moment, due to narrow footpaths, it's got no waiting facility. no shelter. So we need to put improvements here, and also we believe that the capital investment in bus shelters can help improve the sustainability and commercial viability of local bus services. And what I also just say, the point at the bottom is that this project is paid for with government funds via BSIP, so we can't divert to additional funding, and then that also includes supported bus services. So kind of community engagement. So there was some public engagement happening around April 2025. And just what we're doing at the moment. So we circulated business packs, which is this pack to all businesses a few weeks ago. And kind of the final statutory part of this is soon there'll be we'll refer to as a traffic regulation order, which will be the final statutory moment of consultation for the scheme. And that's to comment on the kind of the traffic aspects, such as parking restrictions and double yellow lines. So just real overall kind of key facts of the benefits. So we've got 6 high quality bus shelters going in. Those are all around double the size of what's currently in Portishead. So the main thing is there's a big 6 bay going in the precinct location, and we'll overall have 6 additional real-time information units. That includes at the Harbour Road site and also the High Street site a central totem information unit. So that's very similar to what's seen at Clevedon Triangle at the moment, and also the Anchor Road stops that'll be able to tell you the stops for every kind of in the close proximity, which services divert from where, and each shelter will be very clearly labelled either A, B, or C to state which stop that service departs from. And we'll be also improving cycle facilities to about around 25 additional cycle facilities or parking going in as part of this. And I think just an overall, we want to make the area feel much more welcoming and just an improved public realm with new paving and new lighting and building out footway in certain locations. So this is kind of a bit of a before and after of what we're hoping to achieve. So you can see on the left, we've got the Coombe Road High Street main stop with new paving, a much larger bus shelter, and on the right, we've got the Harbour Road location, which with the additional cycle facilities to try and serve the marina for that kind of first and last mile aspect. So here is kind of the design. I know I've apologized to Mike a few times when I've shown him recently, but these drawings are quite difficult to show on screen. So any questions, feel free to answer afterwards. So at the top, we've kind of got the Wyndham Way section and the changes around there, with the coloured surfacing kind of trying to provide a gateway into Portishead. The additional footway is quite hard to show, but we're hoping we can fit that in over there. And then we've got the zebra crossing remains. Apologies, it's not on this image, but we're going to replace or remove the existing bus stop just by Iceland opposite Somerset Hall, and replace that with the loading bay that's basically currently inside the main precinct bus stop, which should be extended to be able to fit two buses, and also the additional large shelter there. And then just to the south, the Bristol bound stop at the moment will become a much more key stop as we remove the other one. But we're building out the footway in that location by approximately 1 metre to 1.5 metres, so we can fit in a much larger shelter, but also most importantly a shelter with end panels, because at the moment the shelter has quite poor side panels and protection from the weather. So we're building out the footway to enable that, and just general street furniture changes in that area, and to make this the main stop a bit more that this is going to be the central stop for Portishead. The existing Coombe Road stop, which at the moment buses pull in here and then strangely go around the corner around the corner for 40 meters and stop again. This bus stop will also be removed, and we'll be moving some additional parking around that location. So we've got a disabled bay there at the moment. And just in the top left, we've got the changes to the Harbour Road location. So a little bit less drastic, but we'll be putting in new shelters. We've got a 4-bay and a 3-bay, and also some quite significant cycle improvements. So we have secure cycle lockers going in, which means people can securely, not just put it to a Sheffield stand, for example, but securely fasten that away using hopefully an app-enabled system, so people can have that reassurance for paying a small fee. And moving on down the high street, apologies, these images are never easy to show, but we're just following down from Coombe Road. So Coombe Road's just kind of, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but up to the left, and we're just going down here. So the main thing is there'll be a new crossing basically to the south of the Coombe Road High Street junction, to facilitate good movements around that area. And then the existing zebra crossing will be removed, kind of by Bertie's Pet Shop, and that would be the kind of the alighting stop for Portishead. So this will be stop C. So for those coming on the A2 or the X5, that would be the alighting stop for the high street. And the majority of the parking remains in the same location here. You can kind of see where the edge of the zigzags, apologies not showing this drawing, is retained there. And then as we're just coming on down, basically just an overall kind of change of the crossing aspects in the high street. So there'll be a new zebra crossing just to the south of Stoke Road. So that's basically kind of where Greggs is at the moment, to facilitate movements around there. And then moving on south, the Portishead, sorry, the post office, the former post office stop, will be removed and replaced with 4 parking bays in that location, and then basically the existing 4 parking bays outside the Poacher Pub will be replaced with another bus shelter. So it's kind of rejigging certain aspects to fit in the crossing bits and bobs, and there's additional cycle stands at most of these stops as well. I think I mentioned earlier we've got about 20 to 25 additional spaces going in as part of this scheme. So kind of next steps. So we've already engaged in appointing a contractor for these works. And just our current timelines at the moment is we're hoping to start around summer this year, and the works will last for about 12 weeks, but obviously it's quite a long scheme, so we'll be moving out throughout the high street. The final kind of statutory consultation phase for this is the traffic regulation order, as I mentioned earlier, for bits and bobs like the parking, and we're hoping to publish that soon for comment. And what I would say is we're not at the stage yet to go really firm on timelines, but of course we'll be managing disruptions. We know it'll be a little bit disruptive, especially to businesses when the time comes, and also working with operators like First Bus and the Big Lemon to provide additional temporary bus stops when we're upgrading at those. So that's everything I had. I'm sure there might be some questions which me and Jackie might be able to answer.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Thank you.
I had a quick
Right.
as well, actually, if that's okay.
What was that, Carl? Sorry?
I just had a quick point as well, if
Go on.
possible. We are currently working to secure a contractor to maintain and clean the shelters as well, outside of the tendered arrangements we got a year ago. And we're also looking to appoint a concession for advertising over the next 12 months, of which we will deploy that on our main assets.
Okay. Bob, you've got a question there. Here comes the mic.
I've got several questions. Just like to say it's sad that we can't see you here at Portishead and that you're online. It would have been nice for you to turn up today. The first question is, how much of public money are you spending on the Wyndham Way and the High Street conversions?
So I'm not. Do you want me to answer, Jackie? I don't mind.
Well, I was going to say the first bit really.
Could you provide the cost?
Yeah.
That's
I
going
was
to be.
I'm just going to say, Bob, apologies we're not there today. Both Stanley and I have come down with some sort of like cold thing. Quite a few other people have in the office. So as much as feeling exhausted and travelling over, didn't want to bring our germs in today. So that's why we're not here. We had planned to come in this afternoon. But I'll let Stanley answer the question on the funding.
If I'm honest, Bob, I don't know off the top of my head. for those. But what I would say
A
is the
ballpark figure would be great. Sort of, I don't know, 50,
I think
50,000, 100,000,
I mean
a
that sounds
million.
around right, but it's definitely not a million. What I would say is as part of the bus grant terms and conditions, all what we're spending as part of BSIP is publicly available on the website. So that will show all the figures for the whole of the Portishead scheme.
Okay, could we add that to public information? So obviously, could you make that available, please?
It's on the website, so I'm happy to circulate a link to that link after this.
Okay, so the next question is obviously your advertising. Is that revenue going back into North Somerset Council or to
I think
WECA?
that'd be a Carl question rather than me.
No, it's going on my personal holiday fund, Bob. Of course
That's
it is.
fine.
No, the factual answer, excuse my attempt at humour, is that the estate costs north of £50,000 per annum to sustain now, with the new millions we've invested in shelters across the district. And of course, it would be very responsible for the council to have a revenue stream to maintain the equipment for the 20 or so years we expect it to last, including cleaning and repairs and vandalism. Our intelligence to date would indicate that will cost anywhere between £50,000 and £100,000 per year, and the hubs that have heavy use will require cleaning at least monthly. So we're probably going to be short of the amount we need to sustain the estate.
So I presume that's for the revenue that you'll be raising for the bike locks as well. And I'm just, did you mention
the bike shelters don't make money. They generally cost money to sustain. Just to be very clear, I've never known one to make money.
And I'm just wondering, you mentioned about parcel lockers. As residents already know, we have one at Somerset Hall, we have one at Aldi's, we have one at St. Peter's. So we already have 3 in the high street. They're not exactly attractive. They're not exactly color coordinated. So having more lockers within the high street is probably not going to be a great thing.
I would just add those are the Harbour Road site by the marina that the parcel lockers are proposed to go to. And I think the feedback that we've had in consultation is that those parcel lockers are welcomed and provide a good opportunity for people to use that when they come off the bus. And what we've experienced is that people often find those lockers to be full. They're very, very popular at the moment. They're very in trend. And we think that's beneficial to try and bring the community together into a hub location.
Yeah, I can understand that. Obviously, you have one at Waitrose and obviously one at Lidl's, which is right next to Harbour Road site. It's great. Obviously, someone's making money out of parcel lockers, but obviously, we don't need thousands in the town, do we?
I think also we do get a small income from that, which means that will help to maintain the facilities going forward as well. That's the other reason for trying to get parcel lockers in. But as Stanley said, in Weston, where I live, there's numerous parcel lockers, but they're always full. You can't actually, quite often you can't use them. You have to wait for them to empty. So they're becoming more and more popular.
I mean, if you've got evidence to suggest the contrary, Bob, but the public have spoken and really do want these facilities. And I have to say, when you look at European cities, they're everywhere and very well used. And it's not exactly uncommon to notice that the Royal Mail Service has become less reliable. So I would rebuke the need for less of them, to be honest.
Further questions? Joe, do you have any comments in relation to the removal of some of the existing stops and changes?
No, it's all good with me.
It's all good with you. Good. So everyone's happy with the bus hubs then?
Sorry, I'm not at all happy. I heard a load of gibberish from these people who hadn't got the courage to turn up here. And we don't know what they've said. I haven't got a clue what they've said. I don't understand anything that
Well, I'll tell you what, the drawings are here in front of me. So if you want to have a look at them afterwards, please feel free.
Thank you.
And we can talk through them.
For the record, this is nothing to do with the courage to turn up. It's to do with the fact that I've had a very busy week and I haven't had the time to travel there today. As you know, I have a good record in attending over the years. Unfortunately, I cannot be there in person tonight, and I apologise. But I'm not going to apologise for being busy.
Okay. Right. Well, if there are no further questions on the bus hubs, then we'll conclude the conversation on it. Mike, please.
I just interested in the decision to move the stop from the post office to in the middle of the area between Stoke Road and Coombe Road. Do you have any particular things to say about that? Is it a good? I just wondered about for traffic situation.
Yeah,
invariably.
I think what I would say on movement on bus stops is that government guidance done in 2024 as part of LTM 124 puts a recommendation on the distance between bus stops. So that's one of the reasons why around the removal of the flag and pole opposite Somerset Hall, because the distance is quite short. So I think we felt about moving the bus stop, the stop C slightly to the north of the southern end of the high street, that those two stops be too close together. And so we came to the decision to move it to the south, because otherwise the stops have been too close together.
Just to add to that point, that the more stops we have, the slower the buses transit, and therefore the less efficient the services are, which is a balance between the need for stops and frequency, but effectively they're too close together to justify.
I just think of the situation relating to the traffic and buses suddenly stopping there and keeping up obstructing the traffic coming up, because at certain times of the day there is a heck of a lot of traffic coming up.
Well, Ray, in some respects, I mean, that's the same situation outside the precinct stop at the moment, isn't it? If the bus is picking up or dropping off there, then traffic has to build up behind if it can't pass the bus.
And it would do it twice in quick succession. So having it stop once with consolidated boardings should actually ease the traffic.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Thanks, Stanley, Jackie. Thank you very much. Do feel free to depart if you wish, as we'll move on to bus services now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Well, as you all know, since our last meeting in the autumn, we've had the new bus service, the A2, starting. So how many of you here have used it? Yeah, some. Good. Me too. Right. How's it doing, Carl and Joe? You can talk on this.
I mean, first of all, there was a slightly unfortunate series of events at the launch of the service, which went live for a few days, and then sadly we had to dig up a key part of the network in Backwell, which meant there was a significant amount of disruption in the second week of service. It was completely unavoidable. We felt it on merit. It was better to launch the service for a week and accept the disruption. And we did put a shuttle bus in place. And to be fair, we gave it a soft launch, and now we're more into a marketing and promotion phase now. The service is steadied. That said, there is also roadworks in Clevedon, of course, at the moment, which has put the bus on divert. I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. It's gas and waterworks, I believe, in Clevedon that are causing those. My understanding is it's been relatively well received. There has been some angst around it with the changes in Nailsea around the X7, but I mean, it's not a bad service. It's certainly a better alternative than paying 50 quid for an Uber to the airport. I've had quite a few pieces of correspondence from residents over the years asking for a service to the airport. There are concerns it's a long and circuitous route, taking the best part of an hour with some disruption a bit more. To be fair, it's quite hard to drive to the airport in less than 45 minutes from Portishead anyway, depending on the time of day, of course. And I think of merit to the community, to be honest. I think there is an aspiration from us to increase the frequency to 30 minutes eventually, as quick as we reasonably can over the coming years. And I think it will take years, unfortunately, not necessarily less. The airport is clearly a growing, thriving hub. So we think there is potential to get to 30-minute frequency on the service in the future. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it is also a local bus service, and we encourage you to use it as such.
And this service is financed by the airport, correct?
It is.
And operated by First?
It's under contract to First, yes.
Mm-hmm. And loadings on it, how are they doing, Joe?
I haven't seen any numbers officially yet. We're actually due to get our first ones tomorrow. So sorry I couldn't get them sooner.
We've just got to the end of the first period, haven't we? So we're sorry. We've just got to the end of the first period for this year financially. So we're due to get figures sometime this week or next week. But early indications are showing that we are seeing week on week growth on it currently at the moment. And just also to put out there, we're using brand new electric vehicles on there.
Are you? Oh, right.
Yeah.
What, you mean coming or?
No, we're using now brand new electric vehicles on there. So
yeah, they've the route is not 100% electric. It's, I think, something like 70 to 90% of the trips are electric, I believe.
Yeah, it's about 80%, I think, because of at night time we obviously we got to get opportunity charging on the electric vehicles. So there are some journeys at night time and early morning that will be run with diesel buses.
Mm-hmm. But in essence, it's all looking fairly encouraging at the moment. I mean, presumably it's on a sort of a 12-month trial, is it?
No, it's actually contracted solidly for 24 months with
24.
an option to extend for another year. So there's effectively a 3-year contract in place.
Okay.
And there is funding secured for 2 years, and actually the funding is there for year 3 as well. We have committed to a 6-month review of the service to fine-tune the route potentially and anything else, but it is effectively, I think, potentially here to stay.
Good news.
One of the criticisms I have seen, and I accept, is that it would be rather good to keep it going into the centre of Clevedon, into the new bus hub. And I do agree with that. I think that would be good. The problem is we are really close to the limits of the bus running. Like, there's no spare time in the route whatsoever. So we would have to adjust the route to accommodate the centre of Clevedon. But I recognise going into central Clevedon obviously facilitates the hospital and other things. So we will take that criticism board and any other for our first review, which we intend to do over the summer. So if you've got any comments, please do let us know.
How would you envisage cutting the route to facilitate the extra loop into the triangle? I can't think of where you could lop a piece of it off.
Well, it's a challenge. We'd have to find some efficiencies. We might have to stop less, for instance. We might have to reduce the amount of stop opportunities. So there's always a consequence, of course. But we're certainly open to ideas.
Question on the floor here from Dave.
It's not so much a question, actually, Carl, and I want to say I think the A2 will be a success. And like you say, especially if you do take it into the centre of Clevedon, because people have been talking to our group about that. Why is it that they can't access that? So taking it that way, and I do think it will be a success. One of the things is I'm also a councillor for Walton in Gordano, which is a village halfway along the B3124. And most of the councillors, when I spoke to them last month at the parish council meeting, they said, we didn't know that there was another bus running hourly, almost 24 hours a day. And oh, that's good news. So I think, again, the advertising needs to be better.
Yeah.
To get it to people. That's
give you some
the only thought.
Context to that, which is that we were negotiating with the airport up to the last minute, really, on introducing it and securing the funding. And it was very touch and go whether it would happen, to be fair. So we did secure an amendment to their planning consent to make this happen. And because of the short timescale and because of the roadworks that are currently going on, we didn't particularly want to heavily promote it from the very off. We wanted to let it settle in and run and see if there are any teething issues. We now have confidence to promote it. And part of the agreement was we secured an additional £20,000 to promote it. Part of the £20,000 is that there will be a leaflet sent to every household within the vicinity of the route introducing the new service. So you will get that in the coming, I'd like to say, maximum 3 months. And there will be a promotional offer attached to the leaflet as well, I believe. So, yes, I accept the criticism, but I hope you can understand, this is here for the long run. We want to promote it properly. There will also be posters on the bus shelters. Sorry, not posters, there'll be stickers actually promoting it, we believe, in the next few months, making people aware of the new service and the fare structure. And there will also be a significant advertising campaign, social media, radio, all the other paraphernalia about all the airport services, including the new A2.
Sounds good. Any further questions from anyone here? Mr. Cartwright, what have you got to say?
Like you say, A2, we're looking for it long term. Obviously, you've now technically got 3 buses going from Portishead through Clevedon. As you know, all aboard the bus group are trying to get a local runaround service. It was said yesterday as part of the presentations at Portishead Town Council's residents meeting that WECA hopes to look for a runaround service when the train arrives. Again, I just think that if you've now got three buses running to Clevedon, you could save some money and take one off and buy a little minibus to run around Portishead.
Which service would you like us to cancel?
Well, you got the X10, you got the X5, and then obviously you got the A2. I mean, you could cut off one at Clevedon, couldn't you, and shorten the time? Because I think the X5 is hour and a half, isn't it?
They all serve very different purposes, being less facetious in my response, sorry.
It's just
I've been in the meetings for years in Portishead and had significant lobbying for those services. And it is good to see Portishead having quite an extensive array of services. But yes, I accept there are parts that are still not well served. And the difficulty we have is that, as with everything, it does come down to funding and patronage and usage. Our funding has significantly reduced, as I explained last time.
Yeah.
And we actually had to defer the tendering for services for the next 3 years whilst we worked through funding, including any 106 funding we have. We are currently tendering for services now, which includes continuing with the X10. We are working to secure the frequency on the X4, which will require some funding. The A2 has been funded by the airport in its entirety, which is a significant boost. And the X10 tender does include some modifications to the route to pick up, for instance, the top of Clevedon, which was a loss in the network recently. But as it stands, we have not identified any money at this moment to do another service in Portishead. And there are other parts of the district that still have no bus service or a significantly reduced frequency from what Portishead experiences. And the X5, to be clear, serves, it is a not clock face timetable because it predominantly serves an express journey to the colleges in Weston, which, again, I've been lobbied hard for from residents over the years to have those expedited journeys to the college. So there's no scope, as far as I can see, to do anything with the services at the moment that wouldn't be detrimental to other parts of the communities.
But you obviously do acknowledge that around 60% of the town is isolated from a bus service unless you walk. And I appreciate, obviously, the younger generation or the working class generation can get to the bus in the morning and the afternoon, but majority of the time, the bus users would be quite a sufficient amount of older generation. And, there's so many isolated areas in Portishead. We have the A2 service, so again, it's like getting your suitcase and your family to that bus stop, which means they will drive because there's no local runaround service. And obviously, when the train arrives, the same issue will be there, is you will either have to walk or try and navigate a bus service to try and get you into Wyndham Way. Not Harbour Road, sorry, not Wyndham Way.
I don't know where 60% comes from. That would be useful to see the statistics behind
The
that.
60% comes from the areas. That's if you take away the first three streets per the route, because your bus services run only on two routes, but basically they come into town, and one goes up West Hill and the other one goes along to Cleveland
I'd be more than
Road.
happy to explore that in more depth, but the general consensus and guidance we have is no more than a 400-meter walk. Beyond
Well,
that, you're
if I wanted to,
in reach.
yeah, if
But
I want to go
we
to
also-
Bristol, it's a 20-minute walk to the high street, and
But
that's me able, not unable, or not 10 years later.
I mean, again, it goes back to we have limited resources. We also have a town that has historically old and new sections, and not all parts of both are friendly and accessible to vehicles. So there are, as we know, significant physical limitations to where we can take buses without the bus becoming so delayed or needing to go down. There's just not enough time to run everywhere, every bus down every street. It's a really difficult balance. I mean, I have to say, Portishead has probably one of the better coverages for buses, genuinely, and it has some very good, reliable services now. We're never going to be able to fix everything, even with small buses. The team did explore whether we could abandon DRT and convert that into a small bus service. At the moment, we haven't got the right resources or funding identified to take that any further, but we have not ruled it out. And I do think the next opportunity is when the train service comes in. So we're not necessarily thinking this is the end for the evolution of Portishead bus services. It will need to evolve with the train line coming. So what you've suggested is plausible in future, but it's not for the absolute now.
Okay. Two questions from the front, but is this on local services? Because I was going to bring those to the agenda just in a moment or two.
See, because
well, I mean, we will come back to it, honestly, because I've got it here. I was going to, if we finish with the A2, then we're going to move on to the X4 and 5 and 10, and then come to local services and Westlink and such like. Is that all right?
Refer to something which Carl had mentioned, so I thought it would be easier to refer to it.
Specifically in relation to.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Carl.
Hi.
You just mentioned about our 3 services now, which is not the X4, but the ones that run to Clevedon, which is the new A2, the X10 and the X5.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've said to you before that if you sit down and look at the routes that those 3 buses take, they almost duplicate each other. So I was wondering, would there ever be an occasion when we perhaps could get together with you and have a look at potential slightly different routes? Because it's annoying when you think that some areas have got 2 buses, and just with maybe a small change, you could get one of those buses to come into Portishead and go out of Portishead in a different way, which would enable other people to be able to get that bus. So I'm just wondering if that would ever be a possibility that we could sit and talk about that with a map and try and work out a slight change.
Yeah, could I ask our fabulous host to arrange something? And we're happy to bring the team down and discuss that.
Yeah, that would be brilliant.
The real restriction is physical, as we know, in certain parts. And the other, unfortunately, is a balance of where the bus goes and what the demand is. The only one that generally has more flexibility is the X10. The A2 is very, very limited on time. It would not be possible to divert. In fact, the route was never intended to go to Clevedon. It was meant to have gone through, I forget the name of the village, I'm sorry.
Clapton and Gordano.
Correct. But when they actually did a route test, they couldn't physically get the bus through there safely. And I would argue the deviation to Clevedon is going to add a lot of merits to the route in the long run, actually.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mean about deviating to Clevedon. What I mean is when it comes from Clevedon, how it comes into Portishead. Because
the actual route.
Yes, at the moment, they all seem to follow each other. So some people
You're looking at having a variation,
Yeah.
aren't you?
So, for instance, they all go down past the tip,
Yeah.
but there's nobody getting on at the tip because there are no houses there. So, anyway, I was just going to say,
Completely
rather than us
accept
say
that.
to you, can you change it? Would it be possible for us to meet up with you and perhaps give some ideas and have a look at a map?
Yeah, and if we can do that sort of sooner than later, and we're happy to explore any options as ever.
Brilliant.
But
Okay.
the caveat of it, we're very limited in what we can do at the moment.
I'll be happy to join that
Oh, thank
as well
you.
to get an input
Thank
from,
you.
from
I
our
mean,
side of things.
It might be just a very small change.
Yeah, but
Makes such a difference to people.
Yeah, but collectively you might see something that's been overlooked
Yes.
that could be beneficial.
Lovely. Oh, thank you. Thank you both very much for being
Well, in
here.
fact,
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
what, in the old days, the predecessor to the X5, or maybe it still was the X5, used to go up Holly Lane, didn't it? And then drop down Hill Road, and to the six ways, and then join up.
Yeah, we used to do.
Did you want to ask a question on AA2?
I think round what you said, I think you ought to try and arrange the publicity to reflect the need from people from, say, Phoenix Way and all that area, if they wanted to catch the A2, they needed to get on its way into Sainsbury's.
Well, I don't know whether that's going to be on Carl's leaflet drop area, but we could check that it could be.
Sorry, I can't hear Ray.
The A2 comes in via Harbour Road, like all the other buses, but then when it comes out from Sainsbury's, as a different to everything else, it sort of creeps out via Wyndham Way, and so in fact anybody from over the north part of Portishead has to realise that they've got to get the bus on its way into Sainsbury's. But it's a question of promoting that.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we're very limited on time, so there's not.
I'm not saying necessarily saying it involves said time.
We'll try to get some publicity out on that one, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the X4. As a regular user myself, I think the service is very good, and of course having the electric bus, which predominantly is used, is they're very comfortable and very. You must be pleased with the Yutong buses.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah,
reliable.
Yeah,
not breaking down much, if at all. No,
not on the road. No, they're fine. Very reliable. Drivers like them.
Yeah,
all good.
I've heard. Yeah,
you're actually incredibly fortunate to have the electric buses because the diesel fleet's been utterly shocking. Actually, they've had about 4% breakdown rate on the EVs over the last year. The diesel fleet has been well into double figures. So it's been a real win for Portishead to have that.
It's got better. Actually. It's got better, Carl.
It has got better. You're lucky at Western, is all I can say.
How many are there in the fleet now? How many?
24.
The electrics. Yeah, 24 double deckers and 4 single deck. Excuse me, single decks for the A2.
Mm-hmm.
There is some, to be really blunt, there is some jeopardy with the X4's current 20-minute frequency. So there's a significant funding gap between 30 minutes and 20 minutes, which we are spending bus service funding on.
Well, the last time we had a conversation about the X4, you said it was almost reaching the X1 break even, make a profit type of arrangement.
So the X1 went commercial in April, which is fantastic news. The X4 hasn't. We need residents to embrace that service because we could be forced to make some difficult decisions if we don't keep seeing the growth. The good news is it is still seeing growth, albeit slowed down. So we are backing it, and we think it's essential for your town that you have a 20-minute service into Bristol. It's the reliability and the frequency you need for the very odd occasion on the X4 when things don't work. But just to put it on the table that no, it isn't commercial and it does require funding.
And inevitably that becomes a slippery slope, doesn't it? If you introduce a 30-minute service and people
Correct.
don't go, use it as
So
well.
we've fought hard internally to make sure that that service is preserved at 20 minutes, and frankly, challenging First Bus to find a small amount of efficiency to make it commercial, because it is relatively small in the scheme of operating it.
And in the evenings, I mean, you now have the half-hourly service, which goes up to quite a late point, doesn't it? I mean, I came back on the 11:40 the other night or something, and I was surprised that the previous bus had only been half an hour before. And there were very, very few people on that particular service I used.
It's not beyond the realms of doubt we would have to trim the evening service to find the efficiencies.
I did wonder.
But again, that might actually reflect days of the week even, where, you know, there are certain days where people are at work and don't necessarily go out to Bristol. I don't know, but we're very adamant that the core daytime frequency needs to stay at 20 minutes.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm pleased about that. Okay, Dave, X4?
Definitely the X4, but it could be considered to be all of them, actually. As Sandra has already mentioned, and Bob, one of the problems is with the X4 and where it goes a huge amount of uphill, and it travels along the top of the hill and pretty much comes back down it. What that actually means is that a lot of the people that are on the estates that link to that, and this doesn't necessarily apply to the harbour side or those places down there. A lot of those places, they've got a long way to travel from the bottom of a very steep hill, which is effectively the down that went down towards the cliff face on the north side of Portishead. And basically that's a really steep walk up there. So that means that quite a few people who are disabled, who will probably use the bus, will not use it and can't use it. Okay, it also means, as Bob pointed out, that what's going to happen for those business people or people who are working, they're simply going to get in their car and they're going to drive to wherever they want to go in Bristol. And similarly, they're going to do the same with the X5, and to some degree, they're going to do the same with the A1. So the point about it is, as we've been talking about for some while, that unless you get an improved small bus service going into those estates that can bring them to the bigger routes for the bigger buses, you are not going to get that footfall that you hope. Okay, and what we want to see is we want to see you getting that. So I'm part of all the board the bus as well. Okay, and what we're trying to do is say that if you have the smaller buses and invest money in the smaller bus around town Portishead, you will get not only the footfall increase, you will get people of all sorts, whether they're working, whether they're disabled, or whatever. They will be able to get to the bus stops. At the moment, you're not getting them simply because they can't get to the bus stops.
Okay. I can see your point. Yes, I see. So we'll bring that back into the discussion when we come to local services in due course. Any further questions on the X4? X5? Carl, any comments in respect?
We're tendering its replacement as we speak. I can't say any more other than it's being tendered to be kept as is. I think it's found its equilibrium, really. In a perfect world, the service would reduce to 2 vehicles to operate rather than 3, which would effectively make it a break-even, very cost-effective service.
What impact would having 2 buses on the service have on the route?
At the moment, we'd probably end up losing a trip or 2. But for the minute, we're looking for stability. There's no intent to change it at the moment.
And you're talking about having the service beyond September, are you?
Yeah, we'd intended to tender for the next 2.5 years to the end of the current government funding period. We've actually tendered for a year because of the fuel uncertainty, and we just don't think we'd secure good value to do a 3-year contract because people have to factor in risk. The only way we could do that would be to uncouple the risk from the contracts. So it's at the moment we're doing a year. The predominant reason as well is that the bus network in Weston requires over £1 million a year in subsidy. Portishead isn't dissimilar; it's approaching that level, and we know we need to make significant changes in Weston over the next 12 months with 3 new significant pieces of infrastructure. We've got Bunwell Bypass, we've got Link Road, we've got the interchange, we've got a new bridge. So we know we've got to do quite a lot of reconfiguration in Weston, but we can't do that for a year, which is another reason why we are doing a tender for a year. And why does that affect Portishead? Well, a lot of the buses do other parts of routes before they go on to do routes in Portishead. So they're all sort of interworked. It's like a big complicated web. A driver doesn't just go on one route all day, or very rarely, as Joe will explain. So there's work to do to make the network more cost effective, which, if we get it right, we might have some more money for a small bus in Portishead, being really positive.
Has extending the route through from the interchange to Uphill, Hutton and Uphill been successful? I mean, it's obviously adds time-wise quite a bit to the journey program.
The X5, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big benefit, of course, is the students get a direct bus, which removes uncertainty and gives confidence to use it. So yes, it's absolutely the right balance now, I would argue.
Right.
The bit that has not been reliable is the extension to Hutton Village. So if ever there's a problem on the route, Hutton loses its bus. So I'm not happy with the performance of that particular section of the route. And there is a debate when we reconfigure the town network, whether we remove that from the X5 and make it part of a town service, which whenever we have done that has made a significant improvement to confidence for the users. But that's a question mark for a year's time.
Right, thank you. So moving on to the X10 then, you said that the contracts are being sort of dealt with at the moment, and you're looking at perhaps rejigging the route a bit in relation to Clevedon. And I assume that once Portishead rail link is completed, then the link into Yatton might not be as appropriate. I don't know. I don't kind of know.
So what we're actually doing with the X10 is we're going to remove the 125 service, which is Winscombe. I always get my W's mixed up, apologies. We're basically removing the 125, and then we're going to extend the X10 through to Rington, So the rail link actually still remains very necessary, because all the feedback we've had from Rington over the years is that people want to go to Yatton train station and commute to Bristol. So that's what we've tendered on the X10. Otherwise, the trip remains unchanged northwards up the M5.
So it'd make it quite a long journey then from Rington to Southmead.
It would be an impressive feat of patience, I would argue, yes. But it's a string of pearls, that route, to be honest.
Yeah.
I challenge you to make the journey should we secure the route.
Well, I took the U2 from Weston right through the other day, the other week to Bristol, and that was an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
That's been incredibly popular, that route, actually.
Yeah.
It's really picked up.
First time I've been into the campus at Langford. Okay, any further questions about the X10? Good little service. I mean, I noted the other day the driver has his rest at Yatton Station for half an hour or thereabouts, which is a good stop point.
Yeah. The camera's stopped working, so I can't see you, just for reference.
So, well, here we are rattling through. It's only 5 to 7, and we've done our sort of buses now in terms of the service provisions. Westlink and local service provision then. So I was going to just get you to run through the situation with Westlink, which you said last time was going to run through till September in its rather changed format, 9 till 2. And that's going to be the case, correct?
So the service has now changed to its new format, operated entirely by the council. and its driver workforce. I've seen just this afternoon the first snippets of information on how it's performing, and it's an interesting mix of usage. So the feedback I get is that Portishead have embraced their new service and seem to be using it quite well. Similar for Clevedon, not so much for Portishead, and Nailsea is nearly a virtual waste of time. That's pretty much how I'd paraphrase it without showing you the numbers that I don't have to hand. The utilization in some areas has gone up quite considerably, but the overall usage has dropped by a third. No surprise. But it seems to have found a more sensible equilibrium and probably has a more sustainable future with the changes we've made.
Mm-hmm. And can you just describe how it works? People still phone in to request it?
It's exactly the same as before, apart from we don't have WeMove, and the call centre's transferred to Via, who also do the technology that does all the booking. And from what I have seen from the call centre statistics, the complaints have significantly reduced. Almost, dare I say it, not non-existent, but close to. Cancellations are massively down, and most of which are now customer-led cancellations. This is what I've been told. So, and I know in the past we've had differing views from the public who use it, but I'm understanding there's a lot less. Rephrase that. I think there's growing consumer confidence that they can actually use it and book it now. Unlike before, where it was a proper lottery, to be blunt.
You might not be hearing the comments coming from the floor.
I'm not. Sorry.
No. Yes.
I am.
Dissatisfaction, let's put it that way.
Okay. I'm very interested to hear if that isn't the customer experience being lived.
Well, the mic is just going around now, so
okay.
Who would like to speak first?
The camera's packed up, so I can't see now.
Oh, sorry about that. I think Amy is trying to deal with the situation.
You have to say your name, sorry.
Hi, Carl. It's Sandra here again.
Hi, Sandra.
I've been asked by some members to raise some points. So although I'm going to ask several questions, I'm doing it on behalf of other people. So I don't want you to think I'm hogging the floor. Right. The first question is, we know, of course, that the drivers and the buses do school runs in the morning before 9 o'clock and after 2 o'clock.
Yes.
But what happens, please, in the school holidays when these schools aren't there and they don't have to pick up the children?
It runs extended hours, you'll be pleased to know. I believe 9 till 5.
Okay. So we've already had Easter holidays and a half term. Is that what happened then?
It is, yes.
Did we know that?
It's a really good question, that. It would have been in the published literature, but we didn't exactly go out of our way to promote it, to be fair, given the pretty awful reputation it had. And to be fair, we were taking over the service from the previous contractor, so we were very nervous about over promoting it until we knew the council were operating it effectively. But yes, we're quite happy to promote that now.
And we can likewise promote it?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I'm absolutely staggered. Anyway, that's very good news. The second thing I wanted to say is that...
Speak into the mic.
Sorry. Some members have said, I always book mine on the app, My Journey, so I don't know this for sure. But a lot of members have told us that when they phone up the call centre, they are told a variety of things. One is, when you phone up to book your outward journey, you are told you cannot book your return journey at that moment in time, and you have to phone later on for that. But obviously, when you phone up later on for that, there isn't a bus available. And this is just a little private sort of story, really, but I know a lady who doesn't live very far from Waitrose. I stumbled on her when I was going in shopping. She had been trying to get through and she couldn't. She couldn't get a bus to take her home. I said I'd try and get her a taxi, which I couldn't do. And she sat outside Waitrose crying because she couldn't get home. And I don't think that's acceptable. And so, you know, that is something that I find very strange. They've also been told that if you book a bus, say to Aldi, and you then want to come back from a different stop, you cannot. You have to get a bus back from the same stop as where it dropped you off. So if you're wanting, like me, to go to several places, you're going to have to come back to where you started.
I can't believe that to be true unless it's
No,
a
neither
fault of
can I,
booking
but
through
I'm
the
sure.
call centre rather than on the app.
Yes, but it is true. And also then if you say, oh, okay, then well, I'll only go to one place. Can I have a bus back in an hour because I'll be finished? No, you can't have a bus back in an hour because that's too short a time. So I wanted to say to you, who is it who is making up these rules? Because they honestly seem to us that all they're doing is putting people off. Already, we're trying
Could
to
I
get a
ask
bus
you-
between.
These are really useful points. Could I ask you to surmise them and send them to my team, which is
Yes,
public
of course I
transport?
will.
And absolutely, I need to look into that because that is
Yes.
definitely not the intended outcome. So we employed a driver last couple of weeks, a new driver, and they left because they were bored.
All right.
So I find this incredulous that this
Yes.
is perception and what's going on, and I need to get to the bottom of that quickly.
Yes. I mean, do you agree that at this moment in time, there's only one bus in our zone?
Yes, we have only deployed one vehicle to your zone because we're only seeing enough
Okay.
work to justify that. And actually, the vehicle is relatively well used. Apparently, and I've seen statistics to say the bus is actively carrying 3 or 4 different people on
Yes.
different journeys at one time, which is exactly how it was intended to work.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Might you
We have
increase?
no problems putting another bus on. We've got vehicles and drivers on standby to be deployed.
So at
So-
some time you might make there be 2 buses in.
Oh,
our-
easily. If the demand's
that's
there
brilliant.
and the bookings are there, we'll put it on.
Yeah. Okay. And I think it's probably the last thing. As you well know, myself and other people have been complaining about the call centre in South Africa for 4 years. Last
Yeah,
year,
I believe it's back with South Africa again.
well, I was going to say, last year you did tell us it would be more local, hopefully in the UK. And I was going to say to you, do you know where they are now, the call centres?
So I cannot control where the call centre is because that is tendered by WECA. WECA did the
Okay.
tender. They were given the option of a local call centre, entirely local call centre, and it was an awful lot more expensive than the universal offering, I believe they may have phrased it.
Oh, okay. So I was I was just going to say, because I know if you didn't know, I was going to tell you where they are and hope that you wouldn't be surprised, because I know you didn't know at first that it was in South Africa. But the 4 that I've spoken to are still South Africa, Spain, the Philippines, and Los Angeles. Now, you'd think that Los Angeles would be a good place, but unfortunately, the person I've spoken to there was of Spanish origin, and she could not understand me, and I could not understand her either. And at one point in time, I did say, it's a shame, and I know this sounds rude, but this was when I was with the lady who was crying. I said to her, it's such a shame that you can't speak English. And she said, I can speak English, but you can't understand me. To which I said, yes, thanks very much. Goodbye.
I mean, it'd be very useful to have a time and date on some of this, because in the meeting with Via today, I have challenged them on a scenario where I think it was a journey in Portishead where there was an error with the booking and the driver took nearly 20 minutes to get through to what was supposed to be a specialist routing for the driver to get to an agent. And we had the answer back that no, there was no problem at all. It was answered on time. And we're refuting that because I think they're ignoring the dial time.
Yes, I agree. I have had 2 drivers who have told me that they cannot get through because I said that quite a lot of people had said to me that it takes ages to get through, but I assumed they had a quick way, and they said, no, it takes them ages to get through as well.
Yeah, they're supposed to. They're supposed to have a fast track route.
But no, I'd be more than happy to put these points in an email to you in that case. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And again, I'm more than happy to, if we have to come and sit down and talk through some scenarios, we will. But we're determined to get this call centre better.
Yes.
Well, that was all news to me, Sandra.
Oh.
Well, Dave seems to be the only one. Oh, Bob at the back there.
Right, Carl. Hi, Dave Werrett. Oh, you can see me now.
I
Hi.
can see you now. Hi, Dave.
That's not so pleasant for you as just hearing me, is it? Anyway, right. Mine is definitely about Westlink. It continues to fail. Okay, and as you've already said, that usage in and around Portishead especially has dropped off. Okay, and the reasons for that are fairly obvious, I think, from what has just been said. Basically, it is unreliable. It's always been unreliable. Okay, the new drivers to North Somerset, I've got to say, they're much more reliable. But with the call centre being so awful, then people have just given up. This is what we're getting from our group. Okay, so we're not just talking this ourselves. We're telling you this is what our group are saying to us. Okay, so Westlink, it continues to fail. It was introduced. Obviously, the reductions of times are also very difficult, because if you get a bus going out at 9 o'clock and you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, or any other appointment, you've got to have a bus back before 2 o'clock, which is not always practical for everything that you've got to do. And those are the only ones that actually service those areas of Portishead that are not serviced by anything else. So, but it was introduced after April, again, reintroduced, but it is still poor, if not poorer. Was a decision to introduce Westlink in the first place and continue with it a decision made by downward direction from WECA, which you've always referred to? In other words, basically, as part of the money to get for BSIP and so say improved services, the council signed up to WECA and to WECA's rules and regulations. Was it that WECA said that you needed to do a DRT service with this money? Okay, because to my mind, it's not something that is worked here. You know that. We told you that 4 years ago that it probably wouldn't. And we think that that's exactly the state. Okay, so in actual fact, it has been a huge waste of money, which you have admitted in the past. It's been a hugely expensive service. It has failed. And yet it looks like we're going to have, I understand there's 270,000 floating around within North Somerset to provide the service for this year and for next year. Okay, so that sort of suggests to me that you have been told, you know, I'm trying to take the blame away from you here, Carl, a bit. Okay, that you've been told what you've got to deliver with that money. Okay, is that true?
No.
No.
We were faced with a decision ultimately on all our bus service on what to do with less funding. Genuinely, one of the quite easy things to do would have been to have cancelled DRT, given up, thrown in the towel and walked away from it. That could be a rational decision. That would have left communities with nothing, because £270,000 buys you one big shiny bus from First Bus, and that is it. Whereas at the moment we have potentially 6 to 8 vehicles that can go out and serve communities and trips. And I sat in that room a few months ago, and there was a lady that begged me in Portishead to leave the DRT on, because there are people that do use it regularly and do value it. So I wouldn't say your analysis is completely fair. We're doing our best to make it more reliable, and I think the effort the council has made by taking the risk of operating themselves has been a big step in the right direction. We're not perfect. The call centre, clearly, we're getting some intel that there are problems with its multinational approach. We'll have to deal with that head on. And now it's a contractor that, let's be frank, want to keep the contract in a year's time when it's renewed. They will move heaven and earth to fix that. And if that means they have to find some more local agents, then let's get on and represent people to do that. But I think giving up on it would be the easy thing to do and the wrong thing to do for those that actually genuinely value it, in the face of they would have nothing, because I have not got the resources to go and put 3 more buses on the road in these villages, because I assure you that's £1 million bill to replicate what we're doing. So in the scenario of what we're doing and what the DRT asks us to do, which is to put services like this in places where buses will not be viable, it's probably the best of the least worst options at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask about what is happening at reference around town service, but I think that's already been answered. Okay, because I think
Yeah,
that was
I'm not
obviously
giving up
raised.
on the concept of it. I think there's merit in the idea in Portishead. I think the timing for that and to discuss that is actually over the next 12 to 18 months as the railway becomes a reality.
And as you know, Carl, the town council did put 20,000 aside for helping with a subsidy, which is still in the budget.
Not to burst the bubble, but as I say,
I know it's
small
only a
bus-
speck in the ocean, but a drop in the ocean, but it could help.
I'm not denigrating it. Definitely could help. I think it needs perhaps a bit of a study now on what is the genuine feasibility of such a service.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to run it 9 to 5, people going to Bristol on the train. You'd probably need to run it 5 till, I suspect, 10 at night. I mean, Joe, I'm sure, would explain the cost of running a bus for 14 hours a day. You're talking 2 or 3 driver shifts there, Joe?
Yeah, easily.
Changeover shifts, getting them from Western.
Yeah, easily.
Cost of the vehicle, which would have to be a small specialist fleet, given where you want to go in it. You're talking probably an E100 electric. What's that, 300 grand investment?
Yeah, depending where it's got to come from each day as well to operate the service as well.
Yeah, and you'd have to get the range, because I'll be blunt, running a diesel vehicle, let's look at what's going on in the world. Are we going to get diesel in the winter? Who knows?
Hope so.
So it's something for the agenda in the future.
I think so. And to have a bit of a working group on it with Portishead wouldn't be unreasonable.
I think that's a good suggestion, yes. Yeah.
It would be good to identify the areas needed for the town service, because you could easily manipulate some of the existing services as well.
Yes, that's
well, a number of the people here will be familiar with Sid's bus that used to be running around town, and it was very successful. And
I'd slightly argue maybe not, because it'd still be in existence, I would hope, if it was. And we had one in Clevedon as well years ago when I moved there originally.
Okay.
Small buses are notoriously difficult to sustain.
Well, I assume that it was run privately by Sid, was it?
Possibly. I mean, you need current commercial levels of operation. You need in excess of 40 to 45 people per hour on a small bus along its route to sustain it without subsidy. And now I'm not saying you shouldn't have subsidy, but that's just the benchmark where you'd need to be.
Oh, it was it? Oh, okay. Oh, all right, right. Just had the Sid as a driver who seems to be the only one driving it around. Yeah.
I've just got one more comment to make.
Carry on. Yes. Well, I think we're sort of coming to the end, aren't we? In actual sort of conclusion.
We're coming to the end, Carl. So I'll make my last comment now, which I've just thought of, which is that someone who probably knows things, I won't bother to tell you who it is, has told me that in the BSIP plan, having a community bus was one of the aims. Do you know about that? Is that true?
Not from recollection. What we said is that every population centre we aimed for a minimum level of service dependent on the size and density. So Portishead, we said, needed a 20-minute service to its nearest employment centre, Bristol.
No, I mean a proper community bus, like what we're hoping to get. Not one of the buses, but a community bus that would go round and round.
I'm not aware of that. No.
Okay.
Sorry, not from recollection. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm only human. I do forget things. We wrote that 5 years ago, but I'm not aware of that commitment. No.
Okay. Do you want to find out?
I'll take a note to do my best.
Thank you.
One thing, Councillor Cartwright again. Yes. Carry on.
Sorry, I seem to have lost the meeting there.
Hello, Carl, again. Right, Carl, obviously you got first bus here. Obviously, I appreciate the guy. He looks like he's really interested to help us. And I know you do as well, Carl. You just mentioned a minute ago about 40 to 50 per hour. That's without a subsidy. is there any way that you could probably put something together for our bus group to understand of what a possible target could be between now and obviously the arrival of the train? So it gives an aspect of what you need from the public to run a small service. So a breakdown of what subsidies you might need to require to find for that. The route that we could possibly use. I mean, we're more than happy to help to get this going.
Okay,
I think
have an idea, if I may.
Yeah, I just think we're really the town's really passionate about moving away from this dial-a-ride service and getting a prop service. And it does seem ironic that the millions that have been wasted on the Westlink service, and yet we have no local bus, which is identical to the Westlink bus. It just means that it goes round in a circle or a figure of 8. And the ironic thing to me when we spoke to you 2 or 3 years ago was you told us that that bus would show the route it was serving, but it would only pick up the person that it picked up to the point it dropped off. But the bus, to anyone else using that app, could see where that bus was and where it was going. And I question that was a point of, well, if it's a demand service, then anyone on that route that bus is taking should be able to press a button or ring a number and pick up that bus the same as that passenger that's sitting on his own from one side to the other.
So we did draw up some internal plans to use a council vehicle to run a Portishead loop. We did that work with an option to the community, do we cancel DRT? We're a very, very small amount of resource in North Somerset, as you all know. I bleat on about it all the time. What I think would be best, given that we've got a train service coming within, I believe, 2 years, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is I could take the approach we're taking in Weston, is that we could commission a proper study with all the partners involved and communities to look at what is the best option. So we're doing that in Weston now because of the significant changes. There are very complex changes coming in Weston, as I mentioned. So I'm quite happy to propose and potentially fund, if I can get that agreed, and that's an if. I see some feasibility in doing that, where we commission someone to come in and do a study on what the best options are for what I'd call a town service. And that would look at propensity to travel, density of housing, hours of operation, routing. So I think we've kind of got to the point where I think the big services are kind of sorted. And I do recognise the community want this, but we're not resourced to do the depths of study that you want, and I think is probably needed with the changes coming.
Could we help you do this research when you've got someone to do it?
As Carl suggested, I mean, you spoke about a working party, didn't you? And I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
There's so many of us that would be happy to help you. It would, it might lessen the load, mightn't it? Because we know
what we would generally do is we would secure, and I hate to use this word, but we would secure some consultancy to do this, which is a big bad word, isn't it? Consultancy, but genuinely, we had this done for the A38 recently, which is where the extension for the U2 came from, and it was invaluable because it looked at potential housing growth in the pipeline, propensity of usage, 106, where people live, age demographics. It's the sort of thing that, to be frank, needs to be done for a town the size of Portishead, I think. So I can write to the commission for that, and I can share the commission with the community so that you're happy with it. And I would have to do this, I think, in partnership with the town council as a stakeholder, as your front door, effectively. And I can see if I can get it commissioned.
Lovely, and then let us know.
Yeah, and then rather than us all trying to guess and gauge what's best for the community, I think it would give us a scientific backing to make the next step.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that sounds very positive. I'm sure that PTC can get involved in that too.
Anyway, what's this now?
Okay, well, Joe, as you're here, I'm going to ask you one thing in relation to am I right in thinking the revised app that you've just done?
Yeah.
And tweaked it and changed it, and
Go on.
are we all finding it a bit more complicated to use? No.
In
It's-
what way? Because that's something I can feed back to the IT team.
Well, when we speak as family, we used to go onto our local stop, which
Yeah.
is the Avon Way one,
Okay.
and it would show where the bus is on the loop going around.
Yeah.
And now you have to go into the Bristol direction to get that same information, which is having to, tweak around and make it a bit more complicated. So,
Just an update on RTI.
yeah.
During the course of this week, we should be turning off the current RTI system, which has plagued people with ghost buses for years, as we all know. I have been working away diligently with First Bus to introduce a brand new system for RTI, for real-time predictions. And the new system's pretty damn clever, if I'm going to say so. What it does is it uses the ticket machines, and it feeds directly to our new displays. And the ticket machines also use a degree of AI to learn traffic conditions and apply a prediction. And you think, what does all that mean? At the moment, we take the ticket machine data, we put it into a really rubbish computer system that scrambles it all and gives you a load of lies. The new system effectively is displaying First Bus own GPS tracking and intelligence to our displays. And that will also, I believe, feed the new First Bus app. So you'll have one single source of truth for the first time that I've ever known in this region. And bluntly, if the displays are wrong, well, First Bus need to go and sort it out because it's their information. But with a degree of confidence they can. We're empowering them to actually display their own information, which should be significantly more accurate. Because it also will cancel the journey if the vehicle stops tracking. And it will say cancelled. It won't just leave you guessing with a pre-programmed timetable. It will update and say there's a problem, it's cancelled. Or if the vehicle, say the route gets picked back up halfway through because they've been diligent and got a vehicle out of the depot and put it back on and picked up the journey, it will reinstate it on the display. So you should actually get some genuine real-time information that isn't effectively making it up anymore. And it's now on trial in Western this week on a couple of select displays, and it's worked. So we're getting confidence to turn it on across the whole network. For Big Lemon, who are not part of that system, we're putting a degree of prediction on it through another system that isn't, which is more simplistic and less prone to fail as well.
Oh, good. Right, okay. So therefore, the situation that arose last year for me, which is occurring again on this Sunday when Bristol city centre is all closed because of the run. You doing it this year, Nikki? You're not. I went to the bus stop at the Winterstoke Road to come back to Portishead, only to find the display saying no buses are stopping at this stop. So then I walked all the way to the bus station to find that the X4 then came back via Temple Meads and down Coronation, stopping at Winterstoke Road to then continue. So it was nonsense, and I could have stayed there and caught the bus.
Given it's a new system, I'm not going to stake my house and mortgage on the fact it will be the best system in the world at this point. But my argument is it can't be any worse than what we've had. And from what I've seen, it looks to be significantly more reliable.
Carl, is that cutting out Journeo from as the third party in it?
Journeo will be removed as a contractor from North Somerset as of July. So we were getting rid of all the legacy displays and everything will be e-ink.
Can I just ask you quickly? I get on the bus, the X4 at the top of Nor Road. Sometimes if it's late, it comes up Avon Way. And then it whips round to roundabout at Avon Way, goes down Avon Way again.
And then misses out Nor Road.
And she's standing at the top of Nor Road. And so with this new system, would it say that it's cancelled on that leg of the journey? Oh, brilliant. Because you do wonder sometimes exactly how long to stay there.
Yeah, I know.
Would it
Yeah.
direct you to where you can get?
Sorry.
Could it direct you to where you can get?
No, it would just cancel out the journey on that particular stop that you're waiting at.
Isn't it? Because otherwise you're just standing there, literally forever.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, let me hear them there.
True.
Yeah, no, that's all it would do. It's just cancel out the
That's
journey.
great.
But at least you know that journey's not
Exactly.
done. So
Yeah.
I mean, first have the ability to log into the system and say service departing from here instead. Whether the resource to do it is another matter, genuinely speaking.
it's the communication link, really, isn't it, from the depot
Yeah.
to the customer service agents.
Exactly.
Another thing that frustrates me, which is joined up thinking, and I feel sorry for First with all their buses getting bashed by all the vegetation. And we've had recently, over the last couple of years, we've had Roundham Hill closed. We've had between the George and Markham Hill closed for tree cutting and such like. And yet the buses are still getting affected by vegetation. St. George.
Well, I don't feel sorry for First because I told them consistently over the last 4 years to report this to me. We fix it. And tell you what, when they do report it, we're pretty damn quick at fixing it. So I have to say, Joe, over to you. Tell us about it and we'll sort it. You know I've said that.
Well, I would say the opposite. Because
no, I've given numerous instructions to your predecessors to have a system in place to report tree strikes.
Maybe, but
whether they're not handed it over, it's a corporate problem.
Well, I've actually reported several trees that have taken our windows out.
Yeah.
Oh, as bad as that.
And still nothing's been done about it.
Goodness.
Where have they been reported to?
On our weekly meetings.
In writing?
An email.
All right, I'll pick it up with the team.
Because
I'll be blunt, I was very hot on that a few years ago, so I want to know what's happened to that.
I would say the opposite at the moment, Carl, on trees.
Right.
They're the biggest pain of our life, and we report them, and I've asked about reporting procedures for trees, and still nothing's been done, and we're still losing windows.
And time as well.
Yeah, and that results in lost mileage.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. And is that all in North Somerset?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll eat my words, and we'll
Where
pick
does
that up tomorrow.
97% of our routes operate, all in North Somerset? There's very little that goes into Somerset.
Oh, I mean, Bristol though.
Well, yeah, but it all originates from North Somerset. But yeah, no, all of this is North Somerset stuff.
The only one I'm aware of recently is where someone didn't stop at the right stop in Pill, and they took a tree out. That was driver error.
It was driver error, but they were signed into that stop by contractors on site.
Well, that one's all been cut back now, isn't it, by the temporary bus stop? But I mean, sometimes, sometimes you sit at the top of St. George's Hill because there's traffic coming up the hill, and it just needs a lot of pruning and cutting back.
But we need a better communication flow with these trees.
Yeah, the problem I've had traditionally, Joe, is that drivers just don't report it and it never lands on our desk. And if that is the case, as in they are reporting it and we're not actioning it, I will personally make sure between you and I that it's sorted.
That is more type in there. It is anyway.
Right, folks, we're coming to the end now. I'm just going to tell you that thank you very much, Stanley, Carl, and Joe. Thank you very much for attending. And I'm just going to inform you that tentatively we have penciled in the 18th of November, which is on a Wednesday evening, in this hall, which is pretty solidly booked throughout November. So we've had to sort of configure this time. And it will be a 5 o'clock start till about 6:30. End of. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll confirm later, obviously, and hope that you'll both be being able to attend. And you too.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.